How are we doing, guys? And welcome back to All These To Be. I've got a very, very special guest for you today, guys. A very special guest. It is the one and only Don Matteo, who scored an effing great goal at the San Siro. Yeah, we'll get into that. But absolutely brilliant to have Dom on. But first and foremost, Dom, I mean, how are things with you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right, buddy. Thanks. Yeah, I've been obviously doing plenty of work with the club. Been at the last two Man United games, home and away. So, yeah, there's some good and some bad to come out of that. I think the performances have been great. Obviously, getting a draw at Old Trafford is never easy. But a bit disappointed not to get any points out of the home game. We played the lads did well, but just didn't quite get that bit that I think we need in the final third. The goals, basically, we need goals in that final third. We've probably got players with lots of ability, but we just need a goal scorer. And maybe Pat should have had a bit longer, in my opinion, as well in that game against Man United, especially at home. But obviously, it's hard to fit everyone in at certain moments when you think you're needing the goal or you're needing to win the game. So I understand it's a difficult moment at the moment because of what's going on. Obviously, we still haven't got a manager. Hopefully, that'll be resumed, be sorted out a lot quicker than what we hope, and we can try and move forward with an actual manager. The guys have done a good job since they've come in, taken over, and it must have been a difficult situation for them guys to have to take over such an important role and such an important time for the club. But yeah, listen, it's tough at the moment, but as Leeds United always do, we try and make the best of what the situation is, and we need to do that because the next two games are absolutely huge. And I know I keep saying that when you hear me online or at Ellen Road, but the next two games are just so big for the club. Everton away and Southampton at home doesn't get any bigger, in my opinion. So I just feel we need to put our energy so much into them next two games and going forward. Because for me, we need at least 4 points out of them two games to try and move us into a much better position.
No, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. It is massive now, those two games, whether we like it or not. Obviously, when you get to this point in the season, you don't want to start saying the word 6 points, but it is, mate. It is definitely that. I mean, you mentioned there about the goal scoring issue. I mean, it's become a recent problem, hasn't it, really? Of since the World Cup. I think before the World Cup, we were scoring goals for fun. Yeah, we were scoring goals for fun. And now it's like kind of done the reverse on itself. We look better at the back with Max Berber in there. I'll be interested to get your views on Max Berber actually later on in this little segment. Would you think we maybe underestimated the importance of someone like a Rodrigo to this team? Maybe he's not like the complete package as a centre forward. He doesn't hold the ball up as well as Patrick Bamford, and he doesn't bring as much, in terms of pressing and different bits and pieces. He's a frustrating player. We all know that. But ultimately, when it comes to sticking the ball in the back of the net, he's been absolutely spot on all season. I mean, how big a loss is he now for what looks like the next sort of 2 to 2.5 months of the season? Is that potentially critical in a goal scoring sense?
Well, somebody else has got to stand up and be counted. That's exactly what I think. If I was a player and there wasn't much game time and I get my opportunity, you've got to take it. And I don't think anyone's really done that in the forward areas, apart from Nonto, who's obviously been outstanding. Pat's obviously just coming back from injury, but he looked fit. And like I said, I'm surprised he came off so soon, because I always thought when he's out there, he creates stuff. He also gets into the box and he just makes a nuisance of himself. But let's be brutally honest: if you don't score goals in a football match, you don't win games, and we haven't been doing that. So obviously, we need to get better in that final third. I always say, especially at home, at Ellen Road, the fortress, we should be getting more goals. We should be creating more chances. Are we creating enough chances at the moment? For me personally, I don't think we do. We're not making clear-cut chances. If we create enough clear-cut chances, we will score goals and win games. But at the moment, we're just not doing that. But I think the turmoil within the club is probably affected a lot. The players will say it's not. But I think people can see what's happening around at the moment. We just need a manager in place. I'm sure the board are trying all they can to make that happen. But it's a difficult decision because we've had so many managers that have not quite done it before after Bielsa. There's been a lot of managers around the club. Bielsa's the only one who's kind of done that brilliant job. Jesse Marsh did a good job keeping us up. but that's as far as I thought he could take us, because I didn't think, even though he was a great guy and I met him on a few occasions, lovely guy, but lovely guys don't win your football matches. And I think the one thing that he, in my opinion, didn't make us, he improved us slightly, but I don't think he improved us enough. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this position. So for me, it was the right decision, even though it's a harsh thing to say. But he didn't produce in that section of the. Well, I think the World Cup's hampered a lot of obviously a lot of teams. It's really affected Leeds massively for whatever reason. I think people should have come back really refreshed, but it hasn't worked out that way for Leeds. And obviously the results and the points on the table prove that. So yeah, it's a difficult moment for the club in a lot of areas, and I think it's obviously I was at Leeds United for the feels like I've been there forever over the last few games, and also working for the club doing some TV and stuff. So yeah, I've been around what's been said and what's going on, but I don't know any more than what you guys do. I'll be brutally honest. I wish I knew more info, and I wish I could tell you more. But obviously, the club are doing all they can to make things better. But obviously, I understand the frustration from the fans' point of view and people like yourself who've just got this ultimate love for Leeds United, which we all have. But when you see the club in this position, obviously last night was a good result for Leeds with my old club Liverpool doing us a bit of a favour, which I thought they would. But it wasn't a guarantee at some points in that game. So yeah, listen, it is what it is at the moment, but I have to re-emphasise that them next two games are absolutely crucial, and we all need to get on board and like you say, be there and help out as much as we can. I'll certainly be at Everton on the Saturday, shouting the lads on. But I think it's so important that we don't get carried away with stuff as well. I think sometimes we can't get into that panic situation. In my opinion, I'd just like to get someone in, a proper manager who can guide us properly and get us out of this trouble that we're in at the moment. We need somebody to come in and guide us. The lads have done okay, and no disrespect to them, but we need a proper manager to guide us into the next stage of this era for the club going forward.
Yeah, I'll get your opinions on like sort of specific names in terms of later on this segment and that lot. But of course, as you said, we've got some massive events coming up at Ellen Road. Southampton at home is absolutely huge now. But we've also got another huge event, which is that of an absolute legend of the football club. Arguably the greatest centre-back that the club has ever had in Lucas Radebe. And he's coming to Ellen Road, isn't he, Dom?
He is indeed even. Yeah, he's coming over, the chief, as I call him. We've been talking about doing this event for quite a while. Lucas is obviously desperate to get back to Ellen Road. He's not been over for, I think, 3.5 years. It might be more than that. Obviously, the Leeds fans will tell me the exact time he was last here. So, yeah, obviously, we've got the chief over. And, yeah, just very excited. Obviously, there's tickets still available. So if anybody wants to see, you can see online now. That's the night, 10th of March at the Pavilion, obviously at Ellen Road. So, yeah, anyone who's not got a ticket, get out there now and buy them, because it's going to be a one-off event. Lucas is only doing this one night at Leeds in the Pavilion. He's not doing any more nights before or after that. He's just doing this night. So that's what I'm just telling everyone now. 10th of March is the only night you'll see Lucas Radebe in the Pavilion. You might see him at Ellen Road for the Brighton game, because I'll be bringing him over for that as well. And he'll be doing a bit of work with the club, which I'm organising personally as well with the club, with Leeds United, and the TV side of it with Tom and the staff, and make it a brilliant event. And obviously get the great man over to tell his stories, which I think's massively important. Tell him about his journey he's on. I always see him out and I speak to him, and he's busy, obviously in South Africa and all over the world, putting out, talking to people about his journey and what he's up to. And I think a lot of us want to, I speak to Lucas more than most probably, but I think it's important that he gets on stage and tell everyone where he's at and what his journey's like at the moment, and what his feelings for Leeds United, and can sit on stage with Jed, your dad, and you couldn't have any better person than your dad to tell that story. Proper Leeds fan, proper guy, knows his football, And like you say, I'm just again, thanks to you and your dad for helping me out with this event as well, because it's so important to me. This one's for the brain tumour charity. They're lacking in a little bit of funds and they want to raise some money, so we're here to try and help that as well. So listen, it's going to be a great evening. Get behind it and back it if you can. If you can't, no problem. It's not about that. It's just about, if you want to be there and you want to see the great man, this is the only time you'll see Lucas Radebe, unless he's doing something else. But when Lucas comes over, it'll be an event with me and him, and obviously Jed hosting the event. Apart from that, you'll have no opportunities to see the great man unless you're at Ellen Road or the event's been sorted by me. So this is your opportunity to see the great man.
Exactly that, mate. And it's and one thing to really point out here is that this is a phenomenal cause. The brain tumour charity. Yeah. This is a phenomenal cause. Even if you can't make it, if you could spread the word, about this event on the 10th of March, that would mean the absolute world to us, and it would really help, in terms of raising more funds for the charity. It's just going to be a top event because. It's not only Lucas Radebe, the Leeds legend. His life's been absolutely phenomenal. It's been an unbelievable life that he's had, and has gone on to have, as Dom said, since his time at Leeds. It's 18 years since he played for Leeds. There's a lot that's happened since then, and phenomenal person, phenomenal story to tell. And this is a real potential once in a lifetime opportunity to see. One of the greatest footballers that's ever played for this football club, one of the most loved footballers that's ever played for this football club as well. I hope in my Leeds sporting life I'll see another Leeds player as popular as what Lucas Radebe was, but I'm not sure I will. To be totally honest with you. What an opportunity this is, guys. The 10th of March, be there at Ellen Road. If you can't be there, no problem, as Dom said, but if you can share this out for us on the 10th of March, let's get as many people interested as possible in this fantastic event. And John, I mean, it is an exciting times at Leeds, isn't it? I know right now it feels grim, but you look at the young talent we've got in this team. I think we've made some good additions in January as well, and one of them who I really want to talk to you about is Max Berber. Obviously, who's come in initially as a left back, but he's gone to the left side of the two centre backs. And our defensive records, his performances, for me personally, I think he's been a man of the match contender every single time he's played. To be honest, I mean. From a centre-back's point of view, and who also play full-back at times as well, I mean, how impressed have you been of Max Berber so far, mate?
Yeah, listen, he's been outstanding. He's had a relationship with Jesse. I'm sure that was a part of, him coming there and signing. But yeah, listen, let's just talk about his football side. Yeah, we thought he might play left back, but he's ended up playing as left centre-half. And he's done a brilliant job. One thing I noticed from the first moment he came out and he was on that football pitch in his first game, I just liked the look straight away of what he was doing, organising, talking, telling people, giving people choices. I like people. He reminded me a little bit of myself in a strange way. And it's not saying I'm as good as him or he's as good as me. It's just the way he plays and stuff. Doesn't take too many risks. He understands the game. He makes better choices than most. We know he made that slight little mistake, and I always pull defenders up on that. But he got away with it, so he's got away with one. But he'll learn from that. And he seems like a great lad and a great player to have in your dressing room. And I think the more of them people you have around, it breeds that confidence and belief into a lot of other people. I think with him, Adams, and the other additions that have come in, have been great, but I do think that he's the one that stood out for me. Maybe because I'm a defender. Well, saying that, I played everywhere, but he's the type of player I like because he won't moan. He'll do what like Ayling does and stuff like that. If he has to play centre half, he'll go and do it. I want to give a big shout out to Ayling as well. I think he's been outstanding, especially in the last two games. He's come back in the team. Obviously been left out at times when Christensen's come in. So for me, Luke Ayling's been excellent as well. But going back to Verba, great signing, great attitude, one that's going to get better, one that has improved us, and one that's a leader. And we need more of them in our team. If we're going to stay in this division and try and move forward, he's one of the really good signings that we've made. I know we have made others as well, but he hit the ground running straight away. which is what you want. And yeah, long may that continue, because I'm enjoying watching him play. Like you say, I always look out in them positions more than most, because when you've played there, you kind of just home in on them players. And yeah, he's been brilliant. And yeah, does remind me himself a little bit. I'm not sure he looks like me, but he certainly plays a certain way that I like to play as well. I know it's difficult nowadays to put a foot in as much, but I think he does that as well, and he's clever with the way he does that. And like you say, he's been a revelation, in my opinion, to come in so quickly and make an impact like that. And I think he'll become a fan's favourite.
I mean, potential future captain, maybe. Obviously, Liam Cooper, 31 now. Maybe Max Verber is the future in that kind of position. I mean, could you see him as that as well, maybe, Don?
Yeah, possibly. I think, obviously, listen, Coops is a brilliant guy. He's been a brilliant leader, and obviously done such good stuff for Leeds United. So I never like to say that, because obviously
of course,
we've got so much respect for Coops. But listen, the good thing is now, in my opinion, we've got a few leaders. And I think Adams is another one that would be knocking on that door saying he wants it. And I'm sure Verber will be another. And obviously Ayling, when he has been captain, he's done a brilliant job. And I think I know I'm going back to Ayling, but just what I love about him is just his attitude. He's been brilliant. And I think, like you say, we've got Verber and him with that right attitude. We know what we're getting out of Robin Koch every week now as well. Very, very solid. Firpo came in and played left back, which I know he's had his critics, but I tell you what, that was one of his best performances against Man United.
Agree. I totally agree.
He did well. And I think sometimes when you're playing a big game like that, I think sometimes it can be slightly easier to play in a big game because you're up for it more. So I think, even from Firpo's, if I'm talking about him as well, he was better, but he's got to be more consistent week in, week out. It's all right having one good game, but you've got to back it up. And that's the one thing I'd like to say for all them players. They've all done brilliantly, but we've got to keep backing it up. We can't, like you say, the Forest one, we end up losing. So, them types of games, teams that are around us, we've got to start picking points up against them teams that are around us. And we haven't really done that very well recently. So that's the one thing I would say. We've got it, like you say, going into this Everton game, we've got to give it everything. I'm sure we will. But the other side of the coin is they're going to be well up for that as well, with Sean Dyche coming in. So really, really important couple of weeks coming up for the football club. And we need them leaders to stand out and lead from the front. And like you say, I know for a fact, and I'll be there at Everton, I'm going to get a bit of stick, which I always do, and I don't mind it. I got a bit of Man United. I actually got a slap around the head from a Man U fan, which it is what it is. But that's passion. I thought he was a little bit out of order, giving me a smack around the head, and he was quite brave. But that's football. And for me, I love seeing players that are characters. And I think with Ayling, I just think he's a right character and a really, really good footballer. And where he's come from and where he's got to, he's a real example to any young footballer to, started low down the leagues, obviously started at Arsenal first, then, went down the leagues and played at different clubs. And then all of a sudden, for me, he's been one of the most consistent players at Leeds United for a long period of time. And what I like about him as well, I'm a bit of a Luke Ayling loving here, but respect. Just the respect he has for people as well. When he got man of the match at the Man United game, straight over, shook me and Tony Rodrigo's hand. Nice to see you. How are you? And then when he left, he did the same again. Just a nice way about him. Nice respect for the players who've played as well. Just a good guy, and great to see him in such good form.
Yeah, you forget how long Luke Ayling's been here. We're knocking on 7 years now. It's mad. It's gone so quick. And obviously, it's knocking on 9 years now at Leeds United. So they've been long-serving players here, and it was great to see. The fact he was up against Marcus Rashford, and listen, I know Marcus Rashford scores in both games, but that when he went to centre forward, you can't put that on Luke Ayling. But he's done an unbelievable job both times. I mean, especially at Ellen Road. Marcus Rashford, to be honest, didn't have a kick in the game until the last 10 minutes of it, and that's when he moved up top and he changed things around a little bit. He's been outstanding last couple of games, Luke Ayling, and we need him at that point to really make that right back spot their own, because we tried Christensen there, Ayling there, And even Dramo's played a couple of games in the cup as well. We've
Yeah.
tried loads of different options there, and now Luke Ayling, it feels like he's made that position his own. There's a bit
Yes.
more, I like a settled back four. I think we've spoken about this before, mate, that a
Yes.
settled back four, it gives you a basis then to put a little bit less pressure on the guys up top. They don't need to score 2 or 3 goals to draw or win a game. There's a bit less pressure on there. We can keep more clean sheets, and that's ultimately what's going to be a big difference maker for us. But just onto the manager front, mate. I mean, you said before about, a proper manager in that lot. Is that, when you say like a proper manager, you're talking like Premier League experience? Is that what we're kind of looking at? Or in terms of like a huge kind of like pedigree, what would your kind of like preferred kind of next Leeds manager be?
I mean, listen, we've all got opinions, and I've, obviously got one as well. But I think it's very difficult because the club are obviously trying to do business, and it's never easy, especially at this time of year. But we desperately need a manager right straight away to come in and try and keep us up. And also, I think in a way, with the team we're assembling, the squad we've got, we should be doing better. So listen, I just think we need to bring. I'd like us to bring in a Premier League manager who's had experience in the Premier League. And I suppose there's not that many out there that are available. And people would think, I'd be pulling names out of a hat and all that, which I would be, I'm being honest. But Espirito Santos, is that how you pronounce it with my pronunciation?
Yeah, Nuno Espirito Santo.
Oh, yeah, I'll just call him Nuno. I think the one thing you see about him, he's got passion.
Yeah, Nuno.
Nuno. Defensively, he's always done a decent job. The Wolves teams didn't never very often score many goals, but he didn't concede many. So I think on the short term, it could be him. Does a good job. You never know what happens. But I'm sure there'll be lots of managers wanting that job. But it just looks like no one's that interested. And I just don't understand that. With such a great club and such a great pedigree, something's obviously putting them off. I just don't get that. I wish I could take the job, to be honest, but unfortunately, I'm out of the picture for that one. But there's people out there, I'm sure, must be looking at that job thinking, I'd love that job. Because most people, if you're a football guy and you understand Leeds United, and I keep saying the potential is there. So we get a good manager in, and obviously, and the club's getting run very well. I think it's a no-brainer for anyone to come to Leeds United. But obviously, it's just not happening that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the whole attraction of the Premier League in general, I mean, is huge at the minute. You're seeing some of the managers that have turned up in the last sort of 6 to 8 months. Lopetegui, who's been winning Europa Leagues, is now at Wolves, who are in relegation trouble. Unai Emery turned up at Villa. I mean, there is a potential there, for big names to turn up in that lot. And there is clearly that attraction, to leave like a top 4 club in Spain to come and work in the bottom end of the Premier League in that lot. I mean, it is interesting. In that kind of sense, it's hard to know what to say, really, Dom, because there's been so many different names mentioned. 1 minute, it was looking like Areola, then it was going to be Slot, and then loads of Schrader was mentioned after the Man United game, and then Nuno's been mentioned, actually in the media as well. Steven Gerrard's been mentioned as well. Lots of different, obviously someone you've played alongside, and there's lots of different kind of names getting thrown about, and I mean. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you for prepared names. Obviously, with working for the club, that puts you in a difficult position. But, are you happy in general with the level of candidate that's been linked so far? Or would you ideally want that little bit more experience, like along the Nuno side of things? Or are you happy to go with, something that's maybe a little bit more high risk, but could be big reward as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like a player who's got Premier League managerial experience. Being brutally honest, that's what I'd like. If you look who's out there at the moment, you mentioned Steven Gerrard. Obviously, links with him. Obviously, the player he was, the coaching job and the manager's job he's done at Liverpool, and then obviously went to Rangers and won the league. So I know at Villa it didn't quite work out, him and Gary Mack together and with his team. But I think listen. I've not spoken to Stephen about that. But listen, he's one that would obviously, for me, I know I'm a bit biased at times, but listen, great player, great manager. Something he would bring is energy and life. And obviously, if he did come with Gary together, listen, who knows? But at the end of the day, I don't know that actual, whether that would be a choice or not for him or for the club. I think it's a very difficult one for me to talk about, but obviously, looking at the ones you've talked about as well, I think it's the same for all of us. We're all just waiting for it to happen, waiting for it to unfold. I'm not the person who's going to ring Stephen or ring Nuno and say, "Oh, do you want to come to Leeds United?" That's just not me, and it's not my job to do that. It's somebody else's to try and persuade them players. And for me personally, I wouldn't have to be persuaded to go and play for Leeds United or work for Leeds United or be the manager or the coaching staff, because I know how big that is and the potential this club has. So I understand it. It's just whether them managers can see that as well. And it's up to the job, up to the board and up to the staff to make these players understand. And what has been a bit frustrating is I think someone said that a couple of the candidates have been to Ellen Road, or one of them went to the game on Sunday. So for me, they've obviously went and had a look, and whether they'll come back and go again, I don't know. And I think it's difficult when you don't know all the information to actually really give anyone any clarity. And I don't want to put names out there like Stephen or Gary Mack and all these other people that have been mentioned, Nuno, because I'm just guessing like everyone else. But obviously, I just think sooner rather than later, for me personally, with a player who's got Premier League experience as a manager and can get us out of the trouble that we're in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's Don Matteo, the player. I'm sure, back when you were playing for Leeds, then you kind of like changed your manager. You just want sorted as quickly as possible, don't you? Really, I'm guessing.
Most definitely, that's it. And generally, I think we all thought it would have been sorted quite quickly. I think the thing is as well, because a lot of the players were Jesse's players in a way, but I don't know if they were. But obviously, the players have all signed were all kind of Jesse's type of players, and the ones he knew and played with and against, and a lot of the players knew him. So yeah, it's a strange one, and obviously, it looks like Jesse's got into Southampton now very quickly. So
I mean, quite possibly we're going to be up against Marsh actually in 2 weeks' time. So that's adds extra spice to that game as well.
It does, doesn't it? If you think about that, that's crazy. For that club, for Southampton and for Leeds United, the next couple, like I said, the next couple of games are absolutely bonkers because so much at stake. It's so tight down the bottom as well. We just can't afford to make any mistakes. And I always we've mentioned earlier, I think we've just got to be solid. And I think we will get chances in them 2 games, but we have to be solid because these 2 teams will be thinking exactly the same as what we're doing. They'll be thinking we've got to keep it tight. And then if we get a chance, we've got to take them chances. Because I know I've gone over this, but we haven't been taking our chances at the right moments, and that does cost you. Especially when you're playing against the top sides as well. They will punish you. And we've seen that last week, obviously, at Man United.
Yeah, totally. I mean, these next 2 games, I don't know about you, Dom, but I don't expect to be nice games at all. I think they're going to be horrible games. But as long as we win, it doesn't matter. I think they're going to be pretty cagey, tight, not much between either teams, I don't think. I think it'll be like 1-0 maybe either way. But we just have to make sure we're the right side of it, this time.
Yeah, listen, the energy, but like you say, if you've got a manager going into that game, I think it gives you a bit more. It impacts the players more. I think if a manager comes in, because we know what we've got at the minute, and they've done all right. The lads, not having to go at them at all because they've done a decent job. But I just think we need a manager to come in very quickly before the Everton game. Whether that'll happen, I mean, we're only a few days away from that. So it's if they're going to do business, got to do it quick. Got to get someone in. And that's why I'm always going back to someone who's played managing the Premier League rather than bringing in someone in from abroad or from Europe or wherever they might be coming from. I just think for me, get somebody in who's got experience in the Premier League, keep us up, keep us safe, and then if they do a great job, give them the job and move it forward. Yeah. But like you say,
I totally agree, mate.
Yeah, it's just a massive 2 weeks. But I feel like every time at Ellen Road, I'm saying the same thing. So eventually we've got to try and get through this period with points in the bag because we can't keep coming up on stage at Ellen Road. You know yourself, and your dad speaking all the time. And we're trying to be positive all the time, which is difficult for us all to go out and talk every week and put that positivity in it. But we've got to keep doing it and we've got to keep believing. Listen, the one thing I've seen every single game, home and away, I've been at with the club, the fans have been incredible. At Old Trafford, there was more Leeds fans than there was in Man United fans when I was in them, the boxes and the rooms, in the big, say like the people who are on the I call it a bit of a jolly up, but them nice trips on the away trips. Listen, there was so many Leeds fans. They outnumbered the Man United fans in the hospitality section at Man United, which was brilliant. So when we said all the Leeds fans, everyone shouted, and when they said any Man U fans in, it went very quiet, which just shows you how many Leeds fans there is out there. And this is at Old Trafford. So listen, the fans are still with us, are still behind us. We're still trying to make an impact with the club, but we just need that manager for me to push us forward now.
Yeah, I agree. Again, like you say, I mean, it's not like fake positivity, on stage or anything like that. I genuinely don't think we're a long way off. I don't think we're that far off. I think it's just a case of someone coming in now as a manager. I think the manager is the most important part of the football club at this moment in time, for any club now, especially in the modern game. I just think it needs to be someone who can just galvanise the whole fan base, the whole city. So obviously, It's been a difficult last 2 years. Just need that. Yeah, obviously tactics are really important as well, but I think you need to have that aura as well. In terms of just gets everyone back together again. In terms of and we are all pushing. But you know what I mean. In terms of everyone feeling positive, like I think Leeds, every single Leeds game, we should be going into every single game thinking, what can we do to the opposition rather than what the opposition can do to us? I think that's always got to be the thinking. I think any great Leeds manager, one that you've played under, David O'Leary, Marcelo Bielsa, in my time of supporting Leeds, it was always about what we could do to the opposition. Listen, there was times where we maybe had to be a little bit more defensive in that lot, but I think that's a big thing. I think the aura is a massive thing. In the situation we're in, we just need that little bit of positivity about the place now.
Yeah, and I think as well, comparing eras is obviously difficult, but I think for my era, I knew we had match winners when we needed them, and Leeds need to find a match winner, a goal scorer going forward now, because like you say, Rodrigo's out for a good period of time. So whether he'll come back before then, hopefully he does, and scores a few goals towards the end of the season. But there's no guarantees on that. So whoever plays, they've got to take the chances. Like you say, I want to see Pat get more opportunity, get more game time. But obviously, listen, again, it's difficult when you haven't got the manager out there. So the manager is so important. And when the manager does get appointed, he'll know his role and he'll know what he's got to try and do. We all know that anyway. He's got to keep us up and move us in the right direction. And then if he does a good job, whoever it might be, they get a longer contract, and we put the club in a much better position. It's not nice going to Ellen Road every week as an ex-player or a pundit for the club and have to talk negatively about the club, because we don't want to do that. We want to talk positive about this football club, because that's how it should be. And when I played there, it was positive. It wasn't towards the end, but we don't want that again. We want this positivity. There's a thing about positivity for me. I think sometimes maybe when Jesse talked, it looked a bit too positive all the time. Maybe the way he talks, the way the American slang comes across. I think sometimes that can go against managers. For me, I think he shows a bit of passion at times as well with that. So I wasn't against that, but I think sometimes it puts people off. I don't know why, it just does. But that's why I think, in my opinion, if we can get a British manager in just to start with, who can stabilise us and make us better. Especially, I think we're getting better defensively. It's just in that final third, we're not taking our chances. I think also as well, I just wanted to mention Oscar as well. I think the forward-thinking players, when they get in them wide areas, we've got to make use of that, because we've got so much pace. And under Jesse, we're so narrow at times, and we're easy to play against. When the lads get out wide, we're difficult to play against because we've got pace. Look at Nonso, absolute rapid. When he comes on, he impacts teams. But eventually people will work him out as well. So it's up to him and up to the club to make sure that they keep moving him around. Because I don't think people like Nonto can just play left wing, can play through the middle, can play down the right. We've seen it. Can play all over. Give them a bit more freedom in the final third, because we know they're going to track back, because the the one thing about Leeds United, me and Tony Rodrigo speak about it all the time. They're very honest, the lads at Leeds United. All the lads are honest players. And the fans will forgive you for honesty. Of course they will, because you're going to have a go. And we know they're having a go. We just need that bit of quality to make things happen. And at the moment, we just haven't quite got that. But we're not far away. And I understand why you say that. We're not far away, but we can't keep saying that every week.
Yeah, of course, mate. I totally agree with that. It is a situation now where it's not just can we get results, it's we need to get results. It's as simple as that. We need 6-7 wins, mate. We need 6 or 7 wins. It doesn't matter how they come about. If we get 6 or 7 wins, we should be okay. We should put us on the 40 points and it should be enough. But obviously, you're looking at what worries me more than anything, or slight negative, is the quality of the teams that are down there. You've got your West Ham's down there. Listen, I know West Ham have run a terrible season, but they've got quality. They've got match winners, if you say. Everton, listen to the size of that club, the size of Leeds United. One of these clubs is going to have to go down this season. It's just all about making sure it's not Leeds. And listen, I still believe, if we can find that little tiny bit of quality, in terms of whether it is a manager change, getting the most out of those, these players and that lot, then I don't think we're going to have a problem getting those 6 or 7 wins. I don't think we're that far away. But just to finish off with, Dom, remind us what special event we have got coming up on the 10th of March, back at Ellen Road, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Leeds fans.
Yeah, just a great evening. All the money's going to the Brain Tumour charity, because obviously I speak with the people at the Brain Tumour charity quite a lot. So it's just very important because when you see the work that they're doing, we're so underfunded. With basically the brain tumour world, we get like 1% from the government between everyone who's got a brain tumour or that illness. So it's like 1% is not a lot. I know it's better than nothing, but if you compare it to other tumours, other cancers and stuff, they seem to get a lot more funding. Obviously, people will know a lot more about that than me. I just know personally because I'm living with one every day. I wake up, it's still there. It's not going away. We all pray for that, and miracles do happen. But at the moment, we just got to keep fighting. So the brain tumour charity is what we're doing. We're going to raise some money for. But the great Lucas Radebe is coming over 10th of March to Ellen Road in the pavilion to do a talk and a bit of chit chat, meet the fans, tell his story, and obviously your dad Jed's going to be interviewing him, and he'll bring the best out of him. He always brings the best out of everyone, and we just want it to be fun as well. I want people to see another side of Lucas Radebe. We know Lucas Radebe, the footballer, and we will get them stories as well. But we want to hear what he's been up to, what his journey's been since he left Leeds United, and people want to hear that stuff. They want to see where they're at. We know he lives in South Africa, and he'll have so many stories to tell. And I think he's just excited to get to Ellen Road. And like you say, he's a great friend of mine, and we've been through a lot together. And we will talk a lot about that when we get over to Ellen Road on the 10th of March, because we've been on the right journey, me and Lucas, and we're both been through some tough times together. But we stick together, and that's why I think this event will work.
No, 100%, mate, 100%. Listen, guys, do us a favour. Even if you can't come to this event, please share it out. You're helping 2 of the greatest players this club's produced, certainly in terms of defenders. I mean, that partnership, MATTEO, Radebe, how high it's took this club, in terms of my era watching Leeds, unbelievable. Let's support it, guys. Let's support it. Get sharing. Please come to the event if you can do. Let's get as much interest in this as possible. It is for a fantastic cause, and let's help the absolute legend that is Dom, who's joined us today. And I can't thank you enough, mate. And we'll leave it there, and I'll see you. I'll see you in that Southampton game at Ellen Road, I guess, then, mate.
Yeah, top man. Listen, and I appreciate your time. Thanks to everyone. Listen, like you've just said there, mate, I really appreciate your time as well. It's very, very important we get the awareness out there to everyone. And like you say, even if you can't make it, just share it, because that makes a huge difference for everybody who's living with that illness. So thank you very much, and thank you for your time. Oscar, you're a legend, mate. I love you, and thanks again, buddy, and I'll see you soon.
Cheers for watching, guys. The link is in the description down below. Check it out, guys. The link to Soccer Speaker, which will take you to the event. check it out, guys, to buy tickets there. Big thanks, guys. That's been All Leeds TV. That's been Legend on Matteo, and we'll leave it there, guys. Big thanks for watching. See you later.